Welcome to PHT in the Morning with your host, Pastor David Miller from the Pentecostal Holiness Tabernacle in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Good morning and welcome to PHT in the Morning with Pastor David Miller. And I'm Pastor Miller, so we're going to be with you here for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And I am so proud and privileged to have as our guest today, Brother Neil Bridges. Brother Bridges, most of you that follow this podcast, or if you're familiar with the Holiness Church anywhere, you've heard the name or met Brother Neil Bridges. And Brother Bridges has been a friend of mine for about 50 years. So we're just going to talk with him, interview him. And I hope you enjoy this podcast today. I think you will. So welcome, Brother Bridges. We're glad to have you today.
Honored to be here, Brother David. It's a great privilege. Not only to be here on the podcast, but be in service with you and people that we've known for so many years. Not only you, but your family, your mom and dad, and just on and on. We could go to naming people that we've known for so many years. And just to think the Lord has let us live and be almost in a good mind. I guess about as good as we've ever been. Of course, it's never been all that sharp, but glad to be here and the blessings of the Lord and just how good God has been to us. So happy and glad to see you doing well. Through the battle and struggles you've had, since Diane's struggle she's had physically and how God's brought her out. And I'm telling people everywhere, of course, Brother David's already told you that we've been friends for 50 years. And I'm just loving old folks. Oh, I love them. Especially old preachers. There's just something about them that is special. They tell me there's 3 ways to tell when you're getting old. Number 1, you forget things, and I forgot the other 2. But a lot of things that is so stamped in our mind and in our heart till even at our age we have forgot. And it's you and your family and a lot of the people of this area, not only just the Miller family, but just so many people, the Ely's on and on. We could just name so many people, and right now names are just flooding through my mind of people that we've known in the Ohio area and Kentucky area. And it's just a great privilege. And through it all, ups, hills, down hills, problems, crying, shouting, camp meetings. The camp meetings you preach for us. Times you preach for us at Allentown in the fellowship meeting, in the camp meeting, and through it all, we remain best of friends. And the honor that I've had to come here and preach the camp meetings here in times gone by. It's just a great privilege and pleasure to get to be with you and see a lot of your family today. And of course, we know the Lord's called some of them on home, but still, nonetheless, we're left here and thankful that God has just given us this help. And some people amazed at me how much I go and travel at my age, but I'm amazed at myself. But the bottom line is, it's the Lord. And that's all. And so we're just honored.
I know Brother Bridges mentioned there, he preached our camp meeting, I think 3 times. And our folks, they just love Brother Neil Bridges. When he said, "Now I'm not going to preach this today. Now this is going to come on Monday morning, but we're doing this a day early. We're actually taping this on Sunday." So my wife put it on Facebook, and everybody come out, and Brother Bridges said, "I told you I'm not preaching." So he had to get up anyway for about 20 minutes because our folks they'd have been mad at me and him both, but he done so good. My folks are so thrilled, Brother Neil, because all them years they remember the great times that we had. And with your children, every one of them. I love your children. Sister Joanne, I love her so much. And I remember, I'm going to tell this, and Brother Bridges, I'm sure will remember it, but I had just went full-time in the ministry, which is 49 years ago. In a couple months, it'll be 49 years. And so Brother Bridges is in a revival. My home church is a small church over in Indiana, and I'd just come home from revival, and I'd met him before. I forget where I met him, maybe at that church when you preached there before. But anyway, I come home, and some brother said, "You have a good revival?" And I said, "Yeah, we had 3 or 4 got saved." And they said, "Did they help you much in the offerings?" And people shouldn't ask that, Brother Neil. But they did. And I said, now we're talking 1973 or 72 or 3.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said, yeah, they give me $40, a collie dog, and a box of ho-hos. And Brother Bridges said, "Son, you're evangelizing now."
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And through the years, I many times, me and my wife be sitting around Brother Neil, and I start laughing. She said, "What are you laughing about?" I remember that. But I tell you, I can still remember some of the great sermons that I've heard you preach. And I want to thank you personally, and for all of our listeners. We're on every podcast site, so we'll be listened to by many hundreds of people. And I want to thank you for all you have done in evangelizing, pastoring. And what a lot of folks don't know about you, Brother Neil, you've done missionary work for years.
Oh, yeah. If I would have got to go to Panama this last September, would have made me 40 years I've been going to the San Blas off the coast of Panama, working with the Kuna Indians. Brother Don Rich and myself were the first men outside of a Kuna man that would allow any men to stay on the islands at night.
Yeah.
If you were a man other than a Kuna, you had to leave the island and stay at least 1,000 feet away from the islands.
Yes.
They honored us, and over the years, God has used that to open doors for others.
Yes.
And we, it's just we thank God for it.
Yes.
And
actually, Sister Joanne.
Oh, Joanne was a missionary. I tell people, Joanne's a missionary. I just done the preaching.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd go in those old mud huts, bamboo huts. And they'd be sitting in there with coconut hulls smoking. You couldn't hardly tell who was who in there. And she'd be sitting in there on a log with those women and laughing and talking and teaching them. In fact, in the Latin countries, if you're known and you're respected enough, you can gain the respect of being called Papa or Mama. That's more than preacher or pastor or bishop or whatever.
Yes.
And to be called, if you remember the book that Mother Teresa wrote.
Oh, yeah.
They call me Mama. If you remember.
Yes.
That is a higher respect than just being called a Mother Teresa.
Yes.
It's called your Mama. And all the Latin countries that we've been in, which we've been in 22 different countries, and all of the countries that we've been in, that people knew my wife, knew her as Mama Joanna.
Yeah.
They for her memorial back in Panama, in the city, it lasted 3.5 hours.
Yes.
Her memorial. In the islands, it lasted 3 hours. And up at where the snow's in Omer, it lasted 3 hours, just a memorial service.
Wow.
To my wife, and because she taught them so many things that we take for granted.
Yes.
Personal stuff, and she taught those women how to take care of themselves, their family, and even taught them little things about cooking. Even though it was very primitive, my wife was, and she was tough. Sometimes I'd be complaining, I'd be. She'd say, "All right, Neil, hush and shut up and just stand up, be a man, put on your big boy breeches and act like you're a man."
Yes.
But she was always the one that really just.
Yes.
And there were times that she would be gone 2 or 3 weeks by herself.
Yes.
Without me.
Yes.
And people would say, "Well, why? You're not afraid?" I said, "I'm more afraid for my wife to go to Walmart than I'm to go among those Indians." I said, "They love and respect her so, and they hold in such high esteem."
Yes.
And but God, I'm just thankful that God has used us, and still, I'm past due to go back, but I've just been so busy otherwise. It'll probably be maybe December or even in February.
Yes.
So I get to go back.
Now, Do you know right off how many churches you pastored, Brother Bridges?
My first church was Hodgenville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Where Brother Rick Bickley is pastor.
I didn't realize that.
Yes. Sister Gail Myers.
Uh-huh.
All right. That was her home church.
Yes.
That's where I got acquainted with Sister Gail Myers.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this or not. Sister Marie Swells and Brother Swells. Sister Marie Swells got saved under... what was that preacher's name? Man of Faith. I can't think of it right off.
I can't.
Anyway, she got saved under him, Smith Wigglesworth.
Oh yeah, Wigglesworth. Yeah.
Sister Swells got saved under Smith Wigglesworth. Sister Swells led Sister Gail to the Lord.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, naturally, I was saved in South Georgia and come there to pastor, and met Sister Gail. Sister Gail dedicated her life, broke her engagement. She was engaged to get married. She worked at Fort Knox. She was in personnel. In fact, she was one of the upper in the management part of personnel in Fort Knox. She gave up her job and went on the mission field in Mexico, her first. Sister Gail built over 400-something churches.
Wow.
And together, all of us together, probably somewhere as close to 1,000 churches that we have built over the years. That's including now Sister Gail but all of this, but just to show us how your work goes on after. You know, the book of Revelation, some men's work follow.
Yes.
Smith Wigglesworth is still going on.
Right.
And through Sister Swells, Sister Gail. And of course, I met Sister Gail, and then from that, we began to do missionary work, and of course, pastor and evangelize, and whatever. But just to show you that sometimes we might look at something and think, well, I'm not doing much. But do you know the name of the preacher that led D.L. Moody to the Lord?
Right, yes.
I mean, there you go. You see what we're saying?
Right, yes.
We know D.L. Moody. Oh, yeah, everybody can say, oh, I've heard of D.L. Moody.
Yes.
I've heard of Smith Wigglesworth. I've heard of this one, that, and the other one.
Right.
But what about the people that led them to the Lord?
Exactly.
So, and it was said about D.L. Moody that his teacher, when he would come, the teacher would come in to the class, would do a bow to the class. And somebody asked that teacher, why are you doing this? Said, because I could be bowing to somebody that in time to come would be a great person that'll work for God.
Yep.
And so it was with D.L. Moody in years to come.
Yes.
And what that person said, I bowed before anybody else did to recognize him.
I like that.
I didn't know that.
So
we don't never know when we're dealing with somebody how insignificant they might seem to be.
Yeah.
But look at how God uses them, puts their hand on them.
Yes.
You know.
And then I know you pastored Allentown.
I pastored
in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, I pastored where my nephew Jim Yeomans is now at
Georgia.
in Union Grove. I pastored that church.
Yeah.
Then I pastored Allentown 20 years.
I knew you was there quite some time.
I pastored 12 years, left for a year, and I was in Central America, in El Salvador, praying in a motel, and the Lord spoke to me and said, when you get back, I was on my way to Panama, we were driving through, and we did, and done preaching on the way down. Said, when you get back to Alabama, I want you to take the church back. Well, my good buddy and friend and pal was the pastor, and I just made it up in my mind that, this is it, and so I just, again, because I love the people, they love me, they were no voting out or nothing. We wasn't having trouble, wasn't fussing, but God just said for me to leave.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get to Panama. A preacher by the name of Brother Didiciano. He fasts at least once a year, sometime twice a year, a 40-day fast.
Wow.
In that 40-day fast, he only drinks water.
Yeah.
All right. So I just said to myself, I said, it's just me wanting to go back because I love the people.
Yeah.
They love me, and I enjoyed it, and I had, such great fellowship in that area with so many preachers and people in churches. So and and so I just regard it as a personal thing to me, wanting to go back. We got to Panama, and Brother Frankie, which done all my scheduling for me, Brother Deniciano was standing beside the road. He flagged us down. He said, I knew you was coming. The Lord told me that you were coming. And he said, I want you to come to my church Wednesday night and preach for me. I said, talk to Brother Frankie. Brother Frankie said, yeah, well, he can come. And so Brother Frankie and I and Joanne went over. Well, I got through preaching that night. Brother Deniciano said, I want to see you in my office, your wife and Brother Frankie. So we went in and sat down, and Brother Deniciano said, you was in El Salvador praying. God spoke to you when you go back to America to do what he told you to do.
Yeah.
My wife looked at me, and I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And she said, have you got to go back downtown? I said, I have. And I didn't know that Brother Billy Joe, even at that time, was resigning, and he did.
Yeah.
And I went back and stayed 8 more years. Yeah. Wonderful. And again, I left on good standing. Yes. We wasn't fussing, arguing, whatever. But just how God worked things out for us.
And I'll tell you what, when you pastored there, to me, that was the best camp meeting. To me, now, I mean, I love Broxton, I love Briscoe, I love them all. We got a great camp meeting here where I pastor. But I loved Allentown. I look forward to it, every year. Then I know that you pastor other churches, and you went to Jersey. Yeah. And you done a great work in Jersey.
Well, I just filled in for them at Jersey. We just had some things that needed to be.
I do.
We just had some things, and we just had some things that we need to kind of try to get worked out. I didn't want a new pastor there, and that's my home church.
I know.
And I've been there 21 years.
Yeah.
And every pastor that'll pastored you. The only problem I had with any pastor there is the one that's talking right now. I told people I have more problem trying to pastor me than I do anybody else. But every pastor, Brother Steve Shanifelt, Brother Lynn Ed, Brother Anthony Lester, you go to naming them, Brother Thomas Smith, on and on I can name, that they'll tell you that I never gave them no trouble.
I believe that.
But that was just a deal.
That was a great church too.
Oh, it was.
I preached revivals for them.
And it still is.
Yeah.
But on the Allentown, 1 year we had every preacher that had come to that meeting on there. That year we had 343 preachers assigned that had attended that fellowship meeting.
Yeah.
Over 1,640 people attended that meeting.
Yes, I remember
it was quite a deal,
A very powerful meeting. Well, Brother Bridges, I have so much enjoyed you being with us here. And I know you had told us that you could only be on a few minutes, and you had to go because you had a long trip. But I appreciate you, and we're glad that we was able to have you on PHT in the morning with us today. And so we hope that you've enjoyed this interview with Brother Neil Bridges, pastor, evangelist, missionary. And so we just love him. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to this interview with Brother Bridges today. So we hope this has been a blessing, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week, and God bless you is our prayer. Go with God, and God will go with you.